Hi, everyone. I'm Gwen Callahan. I'm one of the co-directors of Portland Horror Film Festival, and I'm joined with the directors of Maldoror. Can you please introduce yourselves for me?
Hello, I'm Ladan Behbahani.
And I'm Peter Behbahani.
It's so nice to meet you in person. I've been looking at all of your stills and we've been corresponding. So really nice to meet you in person. And thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me about your film. I have a lot of questions about it because it has a really unique look. It has it's been inspired and drawing upon material that not everybody really knows about. Um, but first, let's get to know you a little bit. How did you become filmmakers?
Yeah, I went to film school here in Chicago, at Columbia College, Chicago, back in 2010, and we met during that time, and I had been trying to make some short films, and just to basically build my craft, and over the course of a number of years, it was
Hmm.
pretty much almost a decade.
Yeah.
We just started collaborating ourselves as
Right.
directors, writers and directors. So yeah, it just kind of
It's just like
evolved
grew. Yeah,
naturally. Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
Nice. And what are you particularly drawn to horror films, or is this just one in many of your um, projects that you like do you like telling different kinds of stories, or are you mostly drawn to the horror genre?
Yeah, I'd
Yeah,
say,
that's a good.
I mean, we're huge horror fans. So, I mean, it was obviously trying to do something in a single location.
Mhm.
Horror is the
Right.
best, the
Conducive for
best way
that.
to
Yeah.
do it. So we definitely wanted to start out that way. But I mean, we're not, we don't intend to just make only horror films, but we would love to keep making horror films. So
Definitely.
we're open to any story as long as it just really speaks to us.
Okay. And tell us a little bit about your process of actually making the film. Like, how do you go about, do you both write and both direct and both produce? Like, do you kind of equally share in all of the things? Are there some things that one of you is better at than the other one?
It's funny.
Yeah, yeah, I'd say
Yeah.
like everything's pretty much equal.
Equal. Yeah.
And this is, it's always a learning process.
Hmm.
So it's something where, this is we had done one short film
Hmm.
together before Maldor, and so that was our first attempt to,
Right.
really kind of get that balance.
Hmm.
But I feel like I feel like we like to keep everything equal because it's just, we're both learning on our own and learning
Right.
together as well. So it's like, it's always going to be different on every single project,
For sure.
obviously depending on who else you're working with and the budget
Right.
that you're working with. But yeah, I think just having just that baseline, we like to make sure that we both have the same equal footing.
Absolutely. And we also like to follow the dictums of Orson Welles with happy accidents in filming, just
Yeah,
see what happens as we go. And
yeah,
that's kind of how we work.
yeah.
Nice. So you kind of roll with it.
Yeah.
I find that independent filmmakers are especially adept at kind of taking what they have and using it to their best advantage. And I'm curious if you have anything that stands out about this film that kind of just really exemplifies that principle.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. There is well, I can let you talk about it a little bit, but there is a dinner scene in the movie for people when they watch it that is, I mean, directly inspired by real life.
Yes, it's actually inspired by an argument I had with a particular family member that was saying some pretty egregious things about immigrants, and it turned rather heated. And so, in that process, ad hominem attacks were put towards me, and I was very upset by it. And I spoke to my husband when I was coming back to Chicago, and he says, "We need to write about this. Write down what that person said." And it eventually developed into a story, then into a script. So it was cathartic in that sense to use what we have in the sense of a family argument turning
Yeah.
into a film. So
Wow. Wow, that's a big thing. Because that dinner scene too is kind of it feels like a big moment, even though there's not really like a lot of there's a lot of emotion, but it's kind of like there's a tight lid on it.
Yeah.
Indeed,
Yeah.
indeed.
Yeah, I think Ladan, I agree. I mean, that really, it really is kind of the center of the film.
It is.
I mean, emotionally, it is the center of the
Yes.
film. And even though there's no, it's not about the horror of the story, it still informs all of the
Mhm,
other horror
mhm.
aspects to it.
Okay. Can talking about the, the inception and inspiration and development of the film. So the title comes from a literary work, Les Chants de Maldoror, which Brian actually tracked down a copy of the translation, a really old copy of the translation, and I'm not sure where it is. You might have it with you, otherwise I'd hold it up. But it's not something that everyone is super familiar with. What is it that inspired you about?
Yeah, it came sort of from my time when I was at Columbia College Chicago, and I was taking an experimental film class and just doing typical exercises to get into an experimental filmmaking mindset. And I had always been a really big fan of the surrealists from
Mhm.
their early 1900s, and it turns out that they really championed this book as if not the first, then one of the first significant surrealist literary
Mhm.
works. And I read it, and it has a lot of really incredible imagery in it.
Mhm.
And it has no formal plot. It's told from the point of view of a character named Maldor, and
Mhm.
just sort of his wanderings
Right, like
around the world.
it's a
Yeah.
big poem, really.
Yeah, an epic
Yeah.
poem. Yeah. And yeah, so I had wanted to do a short film
Mhm.
around it for the longest time. And we had tried to develop a number of things that didn't really work out,
Mhm.
but as soon as that dinner conversation hit, it was almost like we know exactly how to
Exactly.
mold that into it.
Absolutely.
Okay. And then you mentioned taking an experimental film class. Ladan, are you also interested and drawn to experimental film?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I don't have any formal training in film or a degree, as my husband does. I'm actually majored in the history of art. So in that sense, I studied, a lot of conceptual filmmakers, and I just enjoy the process of film and looking at images on screen as compositions as you would do in a painting. And so that's kind of where I'm coming from in terms of visuals. So I definitely enjoy that medium and that style for sure.
Nice. And the film has such a nice texture, and I'm glad you mentioned the composition because there's so many shots that are just really beautifully framed. And the black and white really lends itself to that kind of I mean, it has a very art house look, but a lot of times when we see black and white films from independent filmmakers, sometimes you get the feeling that they did it in black and white because they couldn't quite get their color correction under control, or some element of it didn't quite go right. Did you always mean to film it in black and white from the get-go?
Yes,
Yes.
we did.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, black and white is kind of treated, unfortunately, as like a last resort,
Mm,
and so people just think that it's all you need to do is just slap a black and white
mm,
filter over
mm,
everything,
mm.
and you're good to go. But we had actually worked with our previous short film. We worked with the same director of photography, David Kaiser, and we had shot that in black and white. And just speaking with him, just trying to find all of these different different styles of black and
Mhm.
white. And black and white is just like color in the same way as
Yeah,
that you can do it in 1,000 different
yeah,
ways, and it would never look the same each
absolutely.
time. So yeah, so it was something that we wanted this really, really grainy
Like an
look.
inky,
Yeah,
like,
inky black,
yeah.
grainy look as though it were shot on film.
Mhm.
A very David Lynch's Eraserhead
That's
kind
right.
of look. And yeah, and after a number of tests, we were just able to get it right, and that's
Mhm.
how we shot it.
Nice. I'm interested too about the actors. The actor who plays the leads are quite interesting in the way they interact with each other. Can you take us through that process of finding your actors and then getting them to relate to one another?
Oh, sure, yeah. Well, so um, two or is it, I believe two of the, no, two or three of the
Mhm.
actors, if I remember correctly, um, I had met actually in an acting
Mhm.
class. Before we made the film, I
Mhm.
decided to take an acting class just to really understand how actors work,
Mhm.
and so that Ladan and I could just communicate with them better, and just strengthen ourselves as communicators
Mhm.
to actors. And so in the class that I took, there were just so many wonderful
Mhm.
actors, and yeah, there were three of them. There were three of them that ended up in the movie,
Yep.
including Ben, who
Mhm.
plays Stephen,
Play Stephen.
Sam, who plays Maldor,
Mhm.
and Teresa, who plays
The real
the
estate.
real estate agent towards the
Mhm.
end. And yeah, they were just wonderful to work with. They were very eager.
Yeah.
Kelsey, we just discovered, yeah, I believe through Backstage,
Backstage.
and they connected immediately, because
Immediately.
they just knew they loved the characters,
Yeah.
and they loved just getting into that process. And yeah, it seemed like Ben and Kelsey just, they clicked
Immediately
immediately. Yeah.
clicked. Yeah.
Nice. How about the downstairs neighbor? Like, can you talk a little bit about her apartment when we finally get to see the inside of it? It's pretty surprising because of the giant mural that she's working on. And can you talk a little bit about the set dressing and like who made all that cool art?
Sure.
You,
Well, Peter looked for an artist, and she's actually a painter from, I believe, the Kansas City Art Institute. And she lived in Chicago in the suburbs. And we saw some of her work, and it was absolutely gorgeous. A lot of like neo-expressionism and whatnot. And so we talked to her about the film, and she read the script, and it was like it was meant to be, because once she started working on the compositions, she immediately captured the atmosphere of Malder, but also Chicago itself. And it was just a wonderful pairing together of subject matter with kind of the spirit of the film itself. So she's a wonderful artist. She's Claire Danes, and she's just wonderful.
yeah, yeah. We had also wanted somebody who could work on a large scale,
Yeah.
because we had thought of approaching it a number of ways, that the set dressing for that. And there's just the standard way of showing an artist in their workshop and showing their process, but we really wanted to kind of capture something as large as possible,
Mhm.
and just let that kind of overwhelm both of the
Oh,
characters, not just the downstairs neighbor, but also Arya's character as well. And yeah, we just wanted to create a larger than life scenario
mhm.
for that yeah, Claire Dane was very comfortable working in, and
Yeah.
yeah, she did a hell of a job with it.
Yeah. And the actress too. She
Yeah.
was wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah.
It really is not to we're trying to avoid spoilers here, but it really is kind of like when Arya finally goes when she goes into her apartment, it's like she's stepped through to a different kind of plane of existence, and you really feel that change in the space with just the floor to ceiling
Oh
uh,
yeah.
mural on the fabric. And it's just really, really nicely done.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let's see. Is there anything, as while I think of another question, is there anything that you would like an audience to know going into watching, like how best to watch Maldoror?
Yeah, I would say with a glass of wine.
Let's just please say
Yeah.
partake.
If you partake, yes, or mocktail is fine as well. So,
Yeah.
but yes, yeah, we like to creep the audience out.
Yeah.
We're not quite at a stage where we want to go for gore or jump scares or anything like that. And those are perfectly fine. We love that stuff, but we just want to create a mood and an atmosphere,
Mhm.
and we hope that people connect with that
Yeah.
as well.
Nice. I was just thinking about the scene because Stephen and Ari have moved into this new apartment, and she's kind of tasked with unpacking everything and making it into a home again, which is kind of it's such a gender normative
Yeah.
Yep.
expectation that the unemployed wife is going to make everything nice at home. Is there kind of deeper messaging there, or is that just kind of it is what it is?
Oh no, yeah, there's absolutely that's definitely something we were
Yeah.
going for. We wanted to comment on, especially today, having this whole this there is, because you're right, this whole gender norm expectation
Mhm.
for people. And then you combine that with just the economic turmoil that's going on,
Mhm.
and people, if you're not making a certain salary, then it's almost impossible to live, without two people bringing in paychecks. I mean, the entire economic system
Mhm.
has changed, but
Mhm.
those gender norms are still the same. And I mean, I feel like that creates such additional stress and anxiety on everyone, that it's something that we definitely wanted to explore.
Nice. Um, I think I mean, I have other questions, but I feel like we'll get into spoiler territory with them. So hopefully, well, actually, let me ask, do you have other festival screenings coming up, and kind of what is the ultimate plan for the film?
Yeah, so we had a couple of screenings in the past, including we had one in New York City back in
Mhm.
October, right around Halloween,
Yeah.
and we're hoping for a few more coming up. But our ultimate goal is to get it on streaming services, get it online,
Mhm.
and let everybody see it,
Yep.
because we're just incredibly proud of it. And we want everybody to see how hard everybody worked to make
Yep.
it happen. You
I urge everybody watching, yeah, keep an eye out for when it becomes released to the wider public. And what would be the best way for people to like follow you on social media, or does the film have an account where you would make that kind of announcement?
No social media just yet, but they can follow us on Instagram at LP Behbahani, and we'll be sure to make any updates there.
Okay. Excellent. Well, hopefully everyone that is watching this that has already watched Maldor, if you enjoyed it, please reach out to Peter and Ladan on our Discord, the Portland Horror Discord community, or follow them on Instagram and hit them up there and ask them questions and interact with them about their film. I know sometimes we put art out into the world and then we hear nothing back, and it's just nice to have people say something, comment about how they if they enjoyed it or ask questions and engage with it. So I encourage everyone to do that. Um, let's see, Portland Horror is streaming for another few days after this goes live through June 18th. So if you're seeing this without having seen the film, I really recommend that you go watch it. It's a really fabulous film, very artsy, very layered, just really nice look into a couple's relationship, and then kind of the underlying tensions and desires that creativity and lack of someone's creativity kind of instill in us. So
Cool.
with that, I will leave you.
So
Thank
much.
you so much for
We
having
appreciate it, and
us.
thank you to everyone who's watching.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.